Hello, I'm Anthony Cherokee, and this is episode 3 of the Studio Prep video series titled, What Actually Happens in a Recording Session? One of the biggest reasons people feel nervous about recording is very simple. They just don't know what's going to happen. If you've never been into a recording studio before, this can be really intimidating. You've probably got a lot of misconceptions about what's really going to happen. If you've been in recording studios before, maybe that's not the case. So you can continue with this video or move on to the next one. But this is for people that actually feel like the studio is some mysterious place, super technical and super intimidating. So let me do my best to demystify it a little bit. Most recording sessions follow a pretty predictable rhythm. It usually breaks down to these 6 main phases. First, you're going to be going through a setup, then tracking, and then playback. You'll make some adjustments, take some breaks, and then go through some revisions. So let's walk through those. First, for the setup, this is the part where almost everybody underestimates how long it's going to take or how much is actually involved. If you're recording a vocal or a singer with a guitar, setup can be relatively quick. But what if you're recording a full band or an entire drum set? Just that drum set can take a long time. Positioning the microphones alone can take as long as the entire recording session itself. Every mic placement affects the tone, and every inch matters. So, any instruments that are producing sound that travels through the air, meaning microphones are involved, that usually requires mic placement, cable runs, headphone mixes, levels, troubleshooting, all of that. Now, if you're recording keyboards or programmed instruments, or even vocals, sometimes you might work right in the control room. But either way, expect the setup to take some time. And it's not wasted time, it's building a foundation for what's to come. Sometimes studios will come in early just to set up the drums. Sometimes they already have a kit dialed in, but even in great studios, there are almost always small surprises. So the first hour or hours can often feel slow, but that's normal. Just expect it. Once you get all that set up, then you start tracking. So you'll usually do multiple takes. For vocals especially, it's completely normal to record several full takes. Sometimes a lot of full takes. With guitars, you might double parts, layer parts, there'll be solos, that sort of thing. You might want to try alternate tones. Drums are often tracked in fewer full takes, but might still require punch-ins and section fixes. Vocals may be recorded separately from the full band, other than maybe a scratch vocal just for getting the feel for the whole band. The reason why they're typically recorded separately or often recorded separately is because recording them in isolation gives more flexibility later on. You won't get bleed from other instruments. There'll be cleaner editing opportunities and just more control in the mixing in general. So don't be surprised if you record more vocals than you expected, especially with background vocals. Sometimes dozens of tracks of background vocals will be asked for, and that just gives the producer and the mix engineer more creative tools later, more texture, more width, more harmony depth. So just don't be surprised if you wind up doing a lot of tracks even after you've got a really good one. Now, the goal during tracking isn't really perfection, it's options. So kind of look at it that way, that you're really trying to create as much material to work with during the later processes as possible. Now, during this whole process, you will be playing things back, after recording them. This is an area where a lot of self-doubt can flare up because, if you're not used to hearing your recorded voice, it can be kind of jarring the first time. It almost always sounds different than it does in your head, but that's normal. And raw tracks also sound very raw. They're not mixed, they're not polished, they're not mastered. So try not to judge the final outcome based on what you hear in the first playback. What you're really evaluating is the performance and the feel, not really obsessing over tiny flaws. So the fourth section here would be adjustments. This is kind of where the collaboration happens. A producer might ask you to try a line differently, maybe change the tone, pull back on the intensity, or lean in more emotionally. Might want you to sound younger by raising your pitch a little bit, maybe older, maybe softer, maybe stronger. Microphones might get swapped in. The mic height might change, the position in the room might shift, and none of this is a critique of you as an artist. It's all just experimentation. Different mics flatter different voices, and different distances can create different textures. So just think of the studio as a laboratory, and adjustments are part of the process. Now, you will be taking breaks, of course, and you will need them to rest your voice, just to clear your head. eliminate ear fatigue, that sort of thing, kind of gain your perspective back. So those short breaks will reset your judgment, protect your performance, and some of the best decisions you can make just by taking 5 minutes, stepping away, and then coming back. So breaks are important, and there'll be some of those. And then finally, revisions. Usually in the session, revisions will be small, punching in a line, tightening a section, maybe re-recording a harmony. And later, after mixing, there may be additional revision rounds, but inside of a tracking session, revisions are just part of refining what you've already captured. It's iterative. You build, you listen, you adjust, and that's it. When you zoom out, a recording session isn't chaotic. It's pretty structured, actually. You prepare ahead of time. You prepare when you get in the studio. You capture, you evaluate it, you refine. And once you kind of understand that rhythm, it becomes a lot less intimidating. It's not some mysterious black box. It's just a process. And the more you understand that process, the more confident you should feel walking into it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out episode 4 of the Studio Prep video series, titled The Emotional Shock of Hearing Yourself Play Back. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.